For the best meat you have ever eaten in your life, go to samsbutchershop.com. Enter the coupon code Triple T when you check out for a 10% discount. I really wish I could come on this program every day and just report about sunshine and butterflies and rainbows and the fact that everything is going right in our country and everything is going right in our world. But I just don't have that luxury. My channel is really news-oriented, and it's hard to find good news. About the time maybe you think you have, and you try and look for positive things to talk about, real life just smacks you upside the head again. And this story I want to talk about really hits close to home for me. Let me check my mic. I think we're working. I apologize for the sound yesterday. Many of you may have heard this story that's been reported in national news here in the States anyway. If you haven't heard about it, you need to hear about it. It is profoundly sad, and as I say, it kind of hits close to home for me because it involves a young lady. I wish I could share her picture with you. When Marina gets back, we're going to go full tilt on our channel, and we're going to do our best to advance it technologically and start adding media and things like that. But for now, I'll just have to tell you the story of a young lady by the name of Laken Riley, Laken. Laken Riley was a student at the University of Georgia. She was 22 years old, and she was in nursing school at the university. Now, a lot of you know that I live in Alabama now, but I'm a native of Georgia. I was born and raised in the town of Marietta, just outside of Atlanta. And not that this is important, but I'm a big fan of Georgia, the University of Georgia, athletics and football and what have you. Not that that's important, but I'm just trying to draw the parallel of how close I feel to this story and how kind of it affects me, because these are home folks we're talking about. I actually have a beautiful granddaughter that's also at Georgia. She's not at the University of Georgia. She's in the system. She attends another school in the state. I plan to introduce you to my Annie before the year's out. We're going to hitch up and go and see her. But Laken Riley was 22 years old, and over the weekend she went out for a jog in Athens, Georgia, where the home of the University of Georgia. But she never returned. This 22-year-old beautiful young girl, you could find her on the internet. I wish I could share her picture with you. Just a beautiful young woman. Just beginning her life, going to nursing school. She goes out for a jog, but she never returned because somewhere when she was jogging, she was accosted by a predator who kidnapped her and murdered her. A man by the name of Jose Antonio Ibarra was arrested, and he has been charged with assault, kidnapping, and murder. Laken Riley was killed by blunt force trauma. Now, I'm going to give you one guess as to the status of one Mr. Jose Antonio Ibarra. Just one guess. Did you guess? Of course, this vermin, this human scum, this human debris, Jose Antonio Ibarra, is an illegal alien from Venezuela. And he found his way somehow to Athens, Georgia over the weekend, where he abducted Laken Riley, this beautiful young woman, and he killed her. So she has become yet another statistic of the corrupt and inept and feckless Biden administration, who continues to turn their blind eye to the scourge, the invasion on our border. You talk about this all the time, and then you get stories like this. This is Laken Riley, a 22-year-old nursing student, and of course she is one of how many victims of illegal aliens. The responsibility for Laken Riley's murder ends at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. It is Joe Biden's fault that this beautiful young woman is no longer with us. Can you imagine? You know, I have 3 daughters. My daughters are grown, married, and have children of their own now. All of my daughters are in their 30s by this point. One is actually 40, over 40. But all of my daughters have been 22 at one time with their hopes and dreams and aspirations and lives ahead of them. And I cannot imagine the profound sorrow and suffering that Laken Riley's parents are experiencing right now, and for nothing. It would be one thing had she lost her life in a car accident or a disease or something of that nature. But to have her murdered in cold blood by a illegal alien only adds salt to the wounds, because this was completely preventable. This should not have happened. But I've got some additional news on Jose Antonio Ibarra, this illegal alien from Venezuela, and here it is. When you do a little digging, you find out that Mr. Ibarra has quite a little rap sheet. He wasn't exactly a choir boy before he landed in Athens, Georgia over the weekend. Jose Ibarra has been investigated for assault on a federal officer. He was engaged in assault on 2 officials from the Department of Homeland Security. The case was administratively closed. In other words, they had this guy. He should be behind bars and experiencing extradition back to Venezuela. So they had him. He assaulted 2 DHS officials and they had him. But the case was administratively closed. And the only person that has the authority to administratively close this case where he assaulted the DHS officials, the only person who had the authority to close the case was the United States Attorney for the Western District of Texas. Question: who is the supervisor or the boss of the United States Attorney for the Western District of Texas who declined prosecution for Jose Antonio Ibarra, an illegal alien again of Venezuela? Who is the U.S. Attorney's boss? The U.S. Attorney for the Western District of Texas, his boss would be Attorney General Merrick Garland, formerly nominated to the Supreme Court by Barack Hussein Obama. Another question for you. Who is Attorney General Merrick Garland's boss? That would be the occupant of the White House currently, Joe Biden. Another question for you. Who is Joe Biden's boss? Does he have a boss? Oh, he has a boss. And his boss would be the former president, Barack Hussein Obama. Don't doubt me on this. I am telling you, the evidence is simply overwhelming. Joe Biden is not running this country. Barack Hussein Obama is. You can take that to the bank. I would commend to you a video that I'm going to link below this video that was done, a 7-minute long video done by the esteemed man Victor Davis Hansen, who makes the case that I have been saying for a long time on this channel, that Barack Hussein Obama is actually running America. I have shown you in the past, or relayed to you in the past, how Obama is on record having said specifically, he said this to Stephen Colbert, that he would prefer to be behind the scenes as a puppet master, pulling the strings and giving his words to whomever the president would be, that he would be fine with that. Those are his words, in essence. And I've quoted them before specifically. When Lord Obama was the president, he was somewhat restrained as president. Not enough. He still did a heap load of damage to our country, to our economy, to our health care, to our defense, to our military. He came into office saying he wanted to fundamentally transform America, and he did. He transformed America. He transformed our health care. He transformed our economy. He transformed our readiness for war. He transformed our military. Our military is completely woke now. The officer corps, as Tucker Carlson notes, and he's absolutely right, the officer corps is totally on board with wokeness. The officer class, they are allies of the current regime ruling over us, by Obama's regime, with Biden as his puppet master. So this is a trickle-down effect. It's Obama to Biden to Garland to the attorney in the U.S. attorney in the Western District of Texas, who had this vermin in custody and ended the case. He closed the case administratively so that Jose Antonio Ibarra could not be prosecuted for his crime of assault on 2 DHS officials. They let him go, and lo and behold, he goes to Athens, Georgia, finds a 22-year-old victim who was ripe for the picking, abducts her, kidnaps her, and murders her. And she's gone. She's gone forever. Laken Hope Riley is gone forever. If that is not outrageous enough for you, the White House, which of course would love nothing more than to just ignore this story and pretend this never happened, was pressed to give a statement on the fate of Laken Riley. And I want to read the statement to you. If you don't think this story is outrageous enough, here's some more gas to be added to the fire. This is the statement from the occupant of the White House. I quote, "We would like to extend our deepest condolences to the family and loved ones of Laken Hope Riley. People should be held accountable to the fullest extent of the law if they are found to be guilty. Given this is an active case, we would have to refer you to state law enforcement and ICE, the Immigration Service." If this statement from the White House does not make your blood boil and steam come out of your ears, nothing will. The last sentence is the kicker. Given this is an active case, we would have to refer you to the state law enforcement and ICE. In other words, we're Pontius Pilate here. Don't blame us. It ain't our fault Laken Riley is dead. It ain't our fault that an illegal alien came across our borders and murdered this young woman in Athens, Georgia. Don't blame us. It's not our fault. You got any further questions? You got any problems? Go talk to the state law enforcement officials in Georgia and go talk to ICE. But don't ask us about it anymore because it's not our fault. The hell it ain't! Pardon me, folks. I'm stirred up about this because this is hitting too close to home, and I am over this problem of illegal immigration. American people are dying at the hands of illegal aliens. And the White House is not only not doing a damn thing about it, they are facilitating it. The blood of Laken Riley is on the hands of Joe Biden and Barack Obama and Merrick Garland. These anti-American, worthless officials. Worthless. They are guilty, as far as I'm concerned, of accessory to murder. Laken Riley, this beautiful young woman. Pardon me, I had to gather myself. I am so over this man-made problem that is being facilitated by people like Joe Biden and Barack Obama. They have wreaked havoc on our nation. They have turned this vermin class of people on the American people. We are being invaded on a daily basis. And these people are not only not stopping it, this is planned. This is the planned destruction of the United States of America. We are losing our homeland to these illegal aliens who are being given a welcome mat by Barack Obama and Joe Biden. It is criminal. It is outrageous. It is unfathomable. God help us all. Folks, I'm telling you, if we don't get this clown out of the White House, we are sunk. We are absolutely sunk. This makes me want to go find my granddaughter who is in the university system at Georgia. She's not yet 20 years old, and just hold her. Laken Riley, sweetheart, rest in peace. And this old boy over in Alabama is never going to forget you. May God comfort these poor parents who are going through absolute living hell right now. And they have had salt rubbed in their wounds by this disgrace of a human being in Washington, D.C. Two disgraces, at least. Obama and Biden, who are presiding over the willful destruction of our country. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. Let me try and compose myself and shift gears, because there's one other story that I want to, there's several of the stories I want to cover, but I want to cover this one. I got to get off of that before I lose my mind. This was reported in the Gateway Pundit today, and the headline reads, New York Times, CIA built 12 secret spy bases in Ukraine, waging showdown war against Russia since 2014. John Brennan caught in the middle of it. Now, you may remember John Brennan. This is unthinkable to me and should be to you, but you may remember John Brennan was the CIA director under Obama. John Brennan is a self-avowed communist. That's not hyperbole. He is a communist. And a communist was the head of the CIA. Of course, the CIA shouldn't even exist. Thank you, Harry Truman. But the director during the Obama administration or the Obama regime, I should say, was John Brennan, the communist. And the article states that on Sunday, the New York Times, which was unbelievable, published a rare admission that U.S. intelligence has not only been instrumental in Ukraine. This story is unbelievable to me. U.S. intelligence has not only been instrumental in Ukraine's wartime decision-making, but has established and financed high-tech command and control spy centers and was doing so long prior to the February 24th Russian invasion 2 years ago. According to Zero Hedge, the Times admitted that the program was established a decade ago and spans 3 different American presidents. The Times says the CIA program to modernize Ukraine's intelligence services has transformed the former Soviet state, Ukraine, and its capabilities into Washington's most important intelligence partners against the Kremlin today. Zero Hedge reported, "This means that with the disclosure of the long-time closely guarded secret, the world just got a big step closer to World War III. Given it means that the CIA is largely responsible for the effectiveness of the recent spate of attacks, which have included direct drone hits on key oil refineries and energy infrastructure. Without them, the CIA and elite commandos it's trained, there would have been no way for us to resist the Russians or to beat them," according to Ivan Bakanov, former head of the SBU, which is Ukraine's domestic intelligence agency. A main source of the Times revelations, disclosures which might come as no surprise to those never willing to so easily swallow the mainstream official narrative of events, is identified as a top intelligence commander named General Serhiy Voretsky. Clearly, Kiev and Washington now want the world to know of the deep intelligence relationship they tried to conceal over the past decade. The New York Times disclosed that the CIA built 12 secret spy bases in Ukraine, waging a shadow war against Russia for the past decade. After the U.S.-supported violent coup toppled Ukraine's democratically elected government, CIA Director John Brennan visited Kiev in 2014. Shortly after, the new Ukrainian government launched an anti-terror operation against its Russian-speaking citizens in eastern Ukraine. This propelled Putin to invade because they were attacking Russian citizens in the Donbass region and elsewhere. For 8 years leading up to Russia's invasion in 2022, Ukraine's government, with help from the CIA, relentlessly bombed eastern Ukraine, which, of course, resulted in the deaths of Russians. Now do you understand why Putin did what he did? Millions of innocent civilians were caught in the crossfire of a geopolitical chess match between Russia and the United States. This part of the story is ignored by the Western press. A little history, if I may. Many of you will remember that Ukraine had a democratically elected government, but that government was toppled in the year 2014. Do you have any guesses as to who toppled that democratically elected government? That is correct. That would be Lord Hussein Obama and his little flunky at the CIA, John the Commie Brennan. The CIA toppled the democratically elected government of Ukraine and installed their puppet, the former actor/comedian Volodymyr Zelensky. He is America's puppet in Ukraine. And with the help of the Central Intelligence Agency, Ukraine launched an all-out assault on Russian citizens living in eastern Ukraine, in the Donbass region and elsewhere in Ukraine, where Russian citizens were killed. Legions of them were killed. This is what propelled Putin to go after Ukraine, to protect Russian citizens. Now, is there anybody left who does not understand this? As far as I'm concerned, if I have a criticism of Putin, it would be that he didn't act fast enough. This is what's going on in Ukraine. And Kiev and the Zelensky government is nothing but a money laundering operation for Biden, for Obama, for the Clintons, and for the elites in the West. That's all it is. That's all it is. Is it making sense now? Tucker Carlson understands this. Do you? Are you in the United States and you have been oblivious to what's been happening in Ukraine? Now you know if you're watching this channel and if you read this report. This explains it in detail, what has happened. None of this would have happened had it not been for the American involvement by Barack Obama and John Brennan. Russia was getting along with Ukraine reasonably well prior to 2014. But it took Barack Obama and John Brennan to screw everything up. And now they've turned Kiev into their own personal banking center. Folks, this is what's happening. Now, do you understand that Russia is not the bad guy? Now do you understand that Putin is not the bad guy? Now do you understand that if you still blame Putin and you still blame Russia for all that's happened in Ukraine, that means you are ostensibly, philosophically in bed with Barack Obama and his puppet Joe Biden and Zelensky. That's how that works. I got so much more to talk about, but I'm going to stop right there. Listen, if you would do me a favor and give me your comments down below, give me a thumbs up on this video, I would appreciate that. And subscribe to the Triple T channel if you have not yet. I apologize for getting heated, but folks, I'm so over this stuff. I am so over this wave of illegal immigration that has been fomented on the American people by our regime. And we have got to bring an end to these people. Somehow, some way, God help us all. Thank you for watching today. I'm going to dig for some better news to share with you on the next broadcast. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you soon.